quarter century ago, their manager led the Mets to their last World Series championship. And now the Washington Nationals come into New York with the best record in baseball. They've pitched, they've hit, they've done it with older players, they've done it with younger. And the Nationals come to New York looking to get closer to a clinching date. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a three-game series against the Washington Nationals. The Nats have pulled away from the field in the National League. They have the best record in baseball, a 5.5-game lead in the National League East. And while their pitching is dominated for most of the year, their offense has gotten better and better.
Well, particularly of late in the last 20 games as a team, they're hitting over 300, scoring runs by the buckets. The best record since the All-Star break, 37-20. They're a well-balanced lineup. They can steal bases. They have power in the lineup. Adam LaRoche is having, I think, just a career year with 29 home runs. And on the defensive side, too, they play good defense. They've only made 81 errors. That's the fourth least in the National League. And their bench has been very productive. You know, when you put winning teams together, they got a whole package. And this club, offensively and defensively, they've got what it takes.
You know, most of the talk about the Nationals over the last few weeks is about who's not going to be pitching the rest of the year. That's Steven Strasburg. But I think it also ignores what the Nats have in terms of the depth in their pitching staff.
Well, I think you have to give a lot of credit to Steve McCatty, their pitching coach, who really has become the caretaker for these talented young pitchers. Again, Gary, you mentioned the talk has been about Steven Strasburg. Not enough talk has been given about guys like Jordan Zimmerman and Gio Gonzalez and others, who John Lannon, who's going to come and pitch to make the staff either first and second in most of the pitching categories.
Now, R.A. Dickey's going to pitch for the Mets tomorrow night, and his teammates can do him a favor tonight as the Mets square off against Gio Gonzalez.
Well, this would be a real good start, wouldn't it? Give Dickey a hands up if they can get to Gonzalez. They beat him once this year, but he's been awfully good against them a couple times. You go back to August 20th last year, he's 25-8 since that point.
And for the Mets, Colin McHugh trying to bounce back from a rough start in St. Louis. He makes his third big league start tonight.
Well, to me, this is a real big test against St. Louis, a real difficult lineup. He had a hard time. His breaking ball was up in the strike zone. Can he go up against maybe one of the best lineups in the National League and prove his mettle?
Well, the Mets trying to get their offense rolling tonight as they take on the Nats, trying to slow down the runaway train at the top of the division. All the action coming your way on SNY. when RA takes the mound against the Nationals and goes for his 19th win. Better yet, be there for RA the rest of the way with an RA ticket pack. Get a ticket for tomorrow and 2 vouchers for any remaining 2012 home games for as low as $43. Get to Mets.com now for your tickets. Get it? 43? R.A. Dickey's number. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Mazda. Barry Zito continues to pitch well. 6 innings, allowed just 4 hits. Beat the Dodgers 4-0. Giants now lead by 5.5 in the NL West. Johnny Gomes hit a 3-run homer. Tom Malone struck out 10. The A's have now won 9 straight road games, and they've got the lead in the American League wildcard race. Mark Teixeira out 2 weeks with a strained calf. No surprise after his dive into first base on Saturday night. The Yankees with a 1-game lead in the American League East. They have the night off. The Mets welcoming in the Nats for the first of 3. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. Sauce. Visit the concession stands behind sections 137 and 431 at Citi Field to try the flamethrower tenders and the Chipotle chicken sandwich. Cholula hot sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap. Well, it's cooled down here at Citi Field. Breeze is blowing hard. Breeze is blowing in tonight. Here's the National starting lineup brought to you by Hyundai. Jason Worth has done a great job since being moved to the leadoff spot by Davey Johnson. In fact, the entire lineup is hot. Adam LaRoche, 6 home runs in his last 9 games. Ian Desmond's been tearing the cover off the ball. So that is the task facing young Colin McHugh tonight.
Well, he's had 2 starts. You can see the Caesars numbers so far for Colin McHugh. He's had 1 really good one and 1 tough one in St. Louis, facing a tough lineup tonight, signed by the scout Marlon McPhail in the 18th round out of Berry College.
And there's the now idle Steven Strasburg. Going to be interesting to see what they do with Strasburg for the rest of the year now that he's been shut down. I mean, does he just sit around and watch? Do they use him as a pinch runner or pinch hitter? Does he throw bullpen sessions?
I'd say you shut me down, I'm down. Leave me alone.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metropolitan defense. And Shopik is getting a lot of playing time since the trade over here to the Mets. Also, Torres getting a lot of playing time in center. Cedeno's been playing against pretty much against the left-handers. Been doing a terrific job. Hit a home run the other day.
Jason Worth leads things off for the Nats. 86 wins, 54 losses, a 5.5-game lead in the National League East. And the Nationals just completed an 8-3 homestand, although they got shut out by Ricky Nolasco and the Marlins yesterday. First pitch by McHugh is a fastball that runs inside, and we're underway. Worth's played 33 games since coming back from a broken wrist that sidelined him for 3 months, and he's been hot, hitting .333 since coming off the disabled list. And McHugh fires a fastball in for a strike, 1-1.
The wind will be a little bit of a factor for McHugh early on in this game. Temperature, of course, you mentioned, Gary, dropped a little bit. That always makes a pitcher feel better in September. 69 degrees at game time, feels cooler than that. And McHugh finds the outside corner and gets ahead on Worth, 1-2.
That works both ways too. The nice change of climate. Boy, for the guys that have been playing every day for, you know, at this point, gosh, 140 games, this gives you a shot in the arm.
The dog days of summer are over. And the curveball from McHugh sits low, 2-2. Remember, McHugh in his last start in St. Louis had trouble with that curveball. First batter he faced, John Jay, got a hanger, hit a triple, and his day went downhill from there.
So it makes sense the first one he throws is in the dirt to make sure he gets on top of that breaking pitch.
It's interesting that Davey Johnson inserted Jason Worth in the leadoff role, and he has really taken to it.
You know, Keith
played a full count to Worth.
Keith, you mentioned it before. It was not only Worth, but moving Desmond and Espinosa down in the lineup was key also.
And Desmond has got 21 home runs. What a year he's had. And so you can put him in the 6th position in the lineup.
Popped it up. David Wright waiting for it to come down. As the wind doesn't do much with it. And Worth is retired for the first out of the night. Well, the Nationals lineup has gotten longer and longer as the year has gone along. Remember, Michael Morse was on the sidelines the first 50 games. He came back. Worth missed 3 months. He came back. Desmond was out for a good chunk of time. He came back, and now they've got all hands on deck, and they are the hottest offensive team in the league.
And they didn't really take off until they brought this young man up, Bryce Harper from AAA, and he kind of ignited the offense.
And he's been especially hot lately, particularly since the last time the Mets faced the Nationals. Harper was struggling, and he has been rollicking ever since. And he takes it wide from McHugh for ball 1. Harper now has 18 home runs for the year. And among teenagers in Major League history, only 2 players have ever had more. Tony Conigliaro hit 24 his rookie year for the Red Sox. And Mel Ott hit 19 as a teenager for the New York Giants. And now you've got Harper with 18 and a chance to make some history.
You know, it's interesting. Harper got off quick and was hitting well, slumped. His average was down, getting into the 240s. And here he is finishing strong. We got a whole lot of games left, but there you go. There you see the home runs for teenagers.
Nice to see Ed Kranepool on that list.
Yeah.
And you know, that was his 3rd year. He was 19 in 1964. Right. The Mets signed him when he was 17 out of high school, and he got a few games in 62. 2-1 coming from McHugh, and that fastball deemed just wide, and it's 3-1. Sam Holbrook, the home plate umpire, calling that one wide.
There's Davey.
Davey's pushed all the right buttons this year, hasn't he?
I tell you what, it's no surprise. It's no surprise. I mean,
a 1-out walk to Harper, and the Nats have the first base runner of the night.
Davey has such a, I think, such a grasp at seeing talent, and I think this was a perfect team for him. Had some youth and some good veterans that are good journeyman veterans that work hard and that are good soldiers. And I just love playing for Davey, Ronnie. I know he was tough on you, but I love playing for him.
He got the best out of me, I'll tell you that.
And here's one of those young veterans for the Nats, Ryan Zimmerman. He got a day off yesterday, so did he and Desmond. And Zimmerman's been red hot, riding a 13-game hitting streak, and he takes a letter high strike. Zimmerman now with 20 home runs, 80 runs driven in. He's in the top 10 of the league in runs scored. Harper at first, 13 steals on the year.
Well, Zimmerman just such an imposing figure at the plate. He's a big, strong kid. He's very agile. The Gold Gloves at third base. show that, but he stands way off the plate, as you can see.
The tremendous power to right field also.
And the slider off the plate, and it's 1-1. But what he also does is ground into a lot of double plays, more than anybody else in the league, and that's what McHugh's looking for here.
And also is another guy that never gets cheated. He takes a full cut every at bat. A slightly open stance, a little bit of a pigeon toe there, that front foot. Not just to kind of accentuate his, keep his shoulder in, I'm sure, the front shoulder in. Gets a big leg kick. That's extreme. He takes a rip.
Interesting, we're seeing a little more of sliders against the right-handed hitters this evening than we saw by McHugh against the Cardinal offense.
Well, he's got 4 pitches, and his curveball is his best pitch. But mixing that slider in, he's thrown 2 to Zimmerman in this at bat. Now he's ahead in the count, and Zimmerman will almost always hit to right in these spots.
Oh, that's when he gets into trouble. He pulls too much, like so many hitters. When he's red hot, he just drives that ball into the right center field gap.
Driven in a run in 6 straight games, 1 shy of a club record for the Montreal/Washington franchise. 2-2 for McHugh, and it's popped foul as he was trying to take that ball to right. Adam LaRoche, who's been red hot with the bat, waiting on deck.
Well, LaRoche just gave them the left-handed bat they needed in that lineup, in the middle of that lineup, to balance it off. They've always been kind of a, Nationals have been overly right-handed lineup.
Harper at first and 1 out. He's running. Zimmerman strikes out. Shopik's throw right on the money. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. Can't throw it any better than Kelly Shopik did. McHugh strikes out Zimmerman, and Shopik does the rest. Right on target to Tejada. 2-6 on the caught stealing. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Very best in the nation in 7 specialties by U.S. News and World Report. By Town Fair Tire, nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. By People's United Bank, know-how that's helped customers succeed for 170 years. That's People's United Bank, what know-how can do, member FDIC. By DeGiorgi Roofing and Siding, and by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. Runs. Here's the Geico Mets starting lineup, trying to snap out of those doldrums. A mostly right-handed lineup tonight against one of the best left-handers in baseball, as Gio Gonzalez takes them out for the Nets. Ruben Tejada leads things off. And Tejada takes a strike from Gonzalez.
Well, Gonzalez is one of those young pitchers. He has just been outstanding the last 3 seasons. Better this year. I'm looking for his 19th win.
Stats presented by Toyota. Tejada hitting at 290, 0 for his last 9, and he chases a pitch outside, and it's 0-2.
Well, you see his splits, Ron. Right-handers hitting 205. He's only given up 8 home runs this year. Geez, in 175 innings. That's terrific.
It's the 4th time the Mets have faced Gio this year. They beat him up the first time they faced him. That was in mid-July, and he's faced them twice since. His very next start was here, and he allowed just 2 hits in 7 innings. And then he was a bit of a magician the last time he faced the Mets. 5 2/3. He gave up 7 hits and a couple of walks, but only 1 run. And right now, this is there are other games of baseball.
There are.
Not on that score.
Just not going to promote him.
Well, they may be having a little electrical issue.
Okay. Well, they're scurrying right now, I tell you that.
Breaking ball inside, and Tejada holds the swing. Rob Drake with the call, 2-2. Mets have lost 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6, and here at Citi Field they've lost 19 of their last 23 games. We mentioned that they've gone 10 straight home games without scoring 3 or more than 3, and they've scored 16 runs in those 10 home games. Curveball goes around the plate, and it's 3-2 to Tejada. But this would be the perfect guy for the Mets to break out against, not only to play spoiler against the Nats, but also to help out their buddy R.A. Dickey, who is in competition with Gonzalez and others for the Cy Young Award. And there's ball 4 to Tejada, so Gonzalez walks the first man he faces. And this is the one Achilles heel for Gio. Sometimes he'll get a little wild.
Well, the Coors Light national defense, ball I mentioned on the open, the 81 errors, 4th fewest. Desmond and Espinoza. Remember when Desmond went down, Espinoza went over to shortstop and really just played a heck of a shortstop, and really Phillies might be a better shortstop than he is a second baseman.
Steve McCatty, the Nats fine pitching coach, overseeing a staff that's given up the fewest hits, the fewest home runs of any staff in the National League. Cedeno trying to push a bunt. Ronnie's in the lineup because he's hitting .313 against left-hand pitching this year. A little surprising to see Murphy not playing today, considering Murphy has been the one hot bat in the Mets lineup, and he's hit lefties well all year. And a double play ball right at Espinoza. Desmond with the easy turn for the 4-6-3 double play.
Taylor made. This is an easy one. This is like pregame practice right there. Taylor made.
So quickly, 2 out and nobody on, and now David Wright. We showed the Ed Kranepool 19-year-old 10 home runs graphic. David can never beat that record, but he's trying to take down one of Kranepool's biggest Mets club record, 1,418 hits. David's just 13 shy of that mark. Hitting at .313 for the year, 5th in the National League, and he fouls one back. That's where David ranks on the all-time lists in various categories in Mets history. He's got a pretty good chance to have that hits record by the end of this year, and then work toward the home run record next year.
Oh,
Wally Backman, who managed AAA Buffalo this year, has joined the staff with the conclusion of their season. Out there pitching batting practice today.
got both my second basemen here tonight.
That's right. That's right. There's the other one. Toffel and Backman, quite a platoon. Because Wally was never a great right-hand batter.
No. No.
So when he got that tough lefty on the mound, that was Toffel's time. Two and one now to Wright with 2 out and nobody on. And the curveball bends in for a strike, and it's 2-2.
What a good pitch. 2-1. This is why you win 18+ games and going for 19. 2-1 count. Fastball? No. Pull the string. Little curveball.
Gio coming off 7 shutout innings against the Cubs his last time out last Wednesday. Last 6 starts, he's 5-1 with a 1.87 ERA, so he's finishing strong. And he bounces that one to right in a full count. Gonzalez coming over from Oakland in a deal that has absolutely helped both teams. Tommy Milone, who pitched last night for the A's. Brad Peacock, who looks like he may be a budding pitching star, going to Oakland in that deal. 3-2 on the way, and it's inside, and Wright is on with a 2-out walk. So 2 walks in the inning issued by Gonzalez.
Sneaky fast is what they call Gonzalez.
No, not even close. You don't see enough guys getting brushed back today. And hitters are diving.
So Scott Hairston gets a turn at bat. 2 out, a runner at first. Scott hitless in his last 8 at bats at .265 for the year. 15 home runs, 9 of those against left-handers. And hitting over 300 this year against left-hand pitching. The Mets are in desperate search of a big inning. The last time the Mets scored more than 1 run in an inning at Citi Field was August 12th, nearly a month ago. 97 innings without scoring more than 1 run in an inning in this ballpark. Hairston grounds 1 to third. Snow cone by Zimmerman, and he gets the force to end the inning. 2 walks by Gio Gonzalez, but the Mets leave a man. We go to the second at Citi Field, no score. Who was the first player to win a Gold Glove as a Met?
Gosh.
I think I know the answer.
Yeah.
Colin McHugh takes the mound for the second inning. Adam LaRoche will lead off for Washington. LaRoche with 29 home runs, tied for 4th in the National League. He's 6th in the league with 92 RBIs, and he has been red hot, particularly in the power departments lately. LaRoche, Morris, and Desmond up for the Nats, and the Mets put on the full shift against LaRoche. We'll see if he tries to bunt the way Brian McCann did the other day.
Oh, it's outside.
Michael Morris waits on deck. Nats are now 4th in the National League in runs scored. First half of the year, they were struggling offensively. twilight settling on the big city. Ripped down the right field line, and LaRoche has himself an extra base hit. That hops out of play for a ground rule double. So LaRoche continues to rake his 29th double of the year.
Well, fastball meant to be away and middle in, and that's a rocket.
One hop off the foul pole.
So that's the first hit for either side. And now Michael Morris, who always draws attention with his unique way of preparing himself to enter the batter's box.
His Sadahara practice swing.
It's almost like he's unsheathing a samurai sword. Morris sitting at 290, 13 home runs after missing the first 50 games of the season, and he's done a lot of his damage against the Mets this year. 3 of his 13 home runs, 10 of his 49 RBIs have come against New York.
Morris might emulate O, but his manager hit behind him.
That's right. Davey Johnson played in Japan with the Yomiuri Giants. It's a pretty good career when you were thought of for most of your career as a light hitting second baseman, but you hit behind Hank Aaron and Sadahara O.
And you hit 40 home runs one year.
You did 43 that
43.
1 year. He and Hank Aaron and Darrell Evans were the first trio ever to hit 40 home runs as teammates in a season.
In the old launching pad, Fulton County Stadium.
There's a nice looking fastball by McHugh, 1-2.
Well, it's good late sink on this fastball by McHugh. Look at that ball take a right turn.
McHugh's not a hard thrower. He's going to top out around 91 miles an hour.
There's Davey's numbers. How can you not drive in 100, Davey, with 43 bombs?
You know why? Because the other guys were hitting home runs too.
Yeah.
There was nobody to drive in.
Wasn't that Dodger team? Didn't they have the 1 year the most guys hit 30?
They had 4 guys hit 30.
Was Dusty Baker, Garvey, Say, and Lopes. Didn't Lopes do it?
I think it was Reggie Smith.
Reggie Smith, yes.
Ian Desmond waits on deck for the Nats. Reggie Smith is one of the most underrated players in baseball. Nobody ever talks about him. Terrific switch hitter.
Yes, he was. I played with him.
That'll advance the runner. Tejada throws out Morris as LaRoche moves to third, 1 out. So a productive out by Morris. And with the Mets struggling the way they have offensively, don't you have to bring the infield in now?
They're not going to. They're playing back right now.
I mean, you're facing a Cy Young Award candidate. You're not scoring any runs as it is.
I don't know why Ike Davis is playing, and I just put the whole group back. It's too early. If you get shut out, you get shut out.
You deserve the win,
Yeah,
right?
precisely.
Desmond's having a terrific offensive year. 21 home runs. Slugging percentage over 500. In fact, the 21 home runs are the most ever hit by a shortstop in franchise history, and now the Mets are bringing the infield in, or at least most of the way in.
LaRoche doesn't have a lot of speed at third base, so you can play in that position.
Ground ball. Tejada with a nice backhand stop and holds the runner and gets the out. So by bringing the infield in, the Mets prevent LaRoche from scoring.
Well, nice backhand by Tejada. Remember, last year he was had difficulty. Remember, they had to work on his backhand, and he's getting very natural right there. Nice play. Oh yeah, as a hitter, that's an easy RBI, and boy, you just hate to leave it out there.
So now LaRoche pinned at third with 2 out, and Danny Espinosa the batter. Espinosa more power from the left side, better average from the right side.
He is blind high upstairs left-handed, but he's really had a good second half. He was struggling a lot of the first half. He's got a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah, leading the league in strikeouts with 164. If you're going to strike out 164 times, you'd like to have 30 home runs, not 16. You see the numbers on Espinosa.
He's hitting 20 points higher than he hit yesterday. Lots of scouts in our, what would you call it, cafeteria or whatever you call it up here. Media Dining Center, I think is what we call it.
Center.
I think generally it's referred to as Gourmet Alley.
There we go.
McHugh with the 1-1, and Espinosa bounces the curveball foul. So McHugh, who's been staying away from his signature pitch, his curveball early in the game, threw a nice one there, and he's ahead. Kurt Suzuki would be next.
Hardest part about the scouts, some of them Keith and I played with, it's hard to recognize former players. One, they're older like we are, but also you know them by when they have a hat on.
Right.
It's hard to remember what they look like with, you know, just in their civvies.
A couple of them put on a little extra pounds too.
Haven't we all? 1-2, and that turns Espinosa aside. 2-2. Espinosa, as we mentioned, has struck out more than anybody in the National League. And there is the rest of that group. Nobody threatening to crack 200 this year.
Two of them in the Brew Crew, and the Mets will be heading to Milwaukee over the weekend.
They've been hot. Here's the 2-2, and the curveball bounce foul. Brewers, despite losing yesterday to the Cardinals on a walk-off hit by Alan Craig, have won 15 of their last 20. And they're sitting on the fringes of that wild card race. In fact, they're tied with the Phillies, both 6 games behind the Cardinals. Big wild card series coming up in the National League later this week when the Cardinals go to L.A. on Thursday. Dodgers just a game and a half behind St. Louis. Here's the 2-2, and it's down low. Full count to Espinosa. There are the wild card standings. The Braves in the clear with the first spot, but plenty to battle for that second wild card spot, as the Cardinals try to get in via the wild card for the second straight year after winning the World Series as a wild card last year.
You see the Phillies have battled back to 2 games under 500.
They've won 12 of 16. Swing and a miss, and McHugh strikes out Espinosa to end the inning. So Colin McHugh, helped by Tejada, works around the leadoff double by LaRoche. Mets will come up in the bottom of the second now with no score. Team with the best record in baseball has his name taken in vain as often as Mike Rizzo has had the last couple of weeks. All related to his decision regarding Steven Strasburg. It's not just his decision. I guess there was input from a lot of parties, including Scott Boras, Strasburg's agent. Ike Davis leads off in the home second and takes a strike from Gio Gonzalez. But, you know, and we talked about this yesterday, Ronnie. To me, whatever decision the Nats were going to make about Steven Strasburg, they completely exacerbated the situation by being as public as they were. If they had just not said anything, in my opinion, the firestorm would have been much less.
Yeah, it would have been 1 or 2 days or whatever instead of the 4-month baton death march that it's become. I thought it was pretty interesting because in the beginning, you see his numbers. What a fantastic year he was having. It's hard to even say that, isn't it? But that it had been Mike Rizzo's decision, mostly taking most of it on his shoulders. But then Davey really took more of the mantle of it when he said that he went in, talked to Steven, and shut him down.
Davis strikes out on the curveball by Gonzalez, his first strikeout.
Well, this is not a pretty swing. He takes 2 fastballs away, and really, all they're doing is lefties are just throwing you away, away, away. And he took the 2 fastballs away, and then opts to swing at a big sweeping curve.
Now Kelly Shopping, his 15th game with the Mets, has hit a little bit better as a Met than he did with the Red Sox before he was dealt. And Shopping takes it wide from Gonzalez. Here's your Toyota tweet of the game. What are your thoughts about whether innings limits on pitchers actually reduce injuries? SNY at SNY TV with the hashtag SNY Mets. Shopping lifts one to center field, and Harper circling in. Worth will come over from right and take charge to grab it. 2 out.
That is John Lennon right there.
He's going to take Strasburg's spot in the rotation, pitch against the Mets here on Wednesday night. Of course, he is a local kid from Long Beach.
He's called up a couple times in the last month to pitch in doubleheaders and got the win in both of those starts. We're talking about a man coming in to replace Strasburg. That was their opening day starter 2 years in a row. So it's no chopped liver.
Well, they do have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to pitching, but when you get to the postseason, which is where the Nationals firmly intend to be, power pitching becomes more important because runs become more of a premium, and I'm not sure that the Nats have the same level of power pitching without Strasburg in the rotation.
Well, Gio's their biggest power arm, I believe, as far as the strikeouts are concerned after Strasburg.
And then the question is, how much deeper in the rotation do they go when they get to October, as Jason Bay takes call third strike, and Gonzalez has himself a 1-2-3 inning. Bay questioning Sam Holbrook as Gonzalez walks off onto the third with no score. This long view of the Freedom Tower downtown. Let's look at the inside pitch on Colin McHugh, brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
You know, Gary, you mentioned that his breaking ball was up against St. Louis Cardinals. I also thought his fastball was up. He needs to keep it on the knees. He has the most life there, facing another difficult lineup after the Cardinals, and really using these starts, as many as he's going to get, to open some eyes up when he goes to spring training next year.
Of course, that first start opened a lot of eyes. That was against Colorado when he threw 7 scoreless innings and struck out 9. Kurt Suzuki leads off for the Nats in the 3rd. Suzuki, who came over 5 weeks ago from Oakland in a trade, hitting .226 overall, but much better as a Nat than he did as an A. .253 for Washington so far.
Q reminds me a little of a guy who wore the same number for the Mets, Kevin Tapani, a little bit in the way he goes about his business. Kind of slings the ball from the side, and good breaking stuff.
Popped up. Shopik sheds the mask as the wind takes it. He drops the ball. Well, he had both hands, but did not grab it. And it's an error on Kelly Shopik, prolonging the time at bat.
He did everything right. It just popped out of the glove. Like you said, Garrett, 2 hands.
Very interesting watching Kelly Shopik, hasn't it? Because in some ways he has really solidified the Mets behind the plate, but there have been a few lapses that make you scratch your head. Failure to back up a throw to first base, that drop, a couple of balls not blocked in the dirt. There's the curveball from McHugh that misses, a ball and 2 strikes. And this is all part of what the Mets are trying to figure out, whether Shopik is a guy they want to re-sign for next year. And one of the reasons why they made the deal for him late in the season, or later than you would normally pick up a backup catcher whose contract is expiring if you're not in the race. Drive in the air to left field off the bat of Suzuki. Back goes Bay near the wall, and it's out of here. Kurt Suzuki with his 5th home run of the year, and the Nationals jump in front 1-0. So the error by Shopik prolonged the time at bat, and Suzuki took advantage by parking a home run.
There's not many times that you will give up an unearned home run, but this is one of the times. Shopik can only wonder. Here's the pop-up, hits off kind of the end of his glove, not the end of his glove, right in the middle of the glove and the padding, and then the hanging slider.
Second home run given up by Colin McHugh, who yielded one to Skip Schumacher in his last start. Incoming. Suzuki's hit 5 home runs this year. 4 of the 5 have come since the trade. Gio Gonzalez down to the count 0-2. Gonzalez 6 hits this year, including a home run. So it's not often in the scoring rules that a leadoff home run is an unearned run.
That's right.
But that's an unearned run.
Because he should have been out.
He was out, according to Hoyle, whoever he is. Fouled off.
If he was out, it wouldn't be 1-0.
Right. But he should have been.
There you go.
One and 2 to Gonzalez with Jason Worth on deck. 25-year-old Colin McHugh, an 18th round pick by the Mets in 08. One of those guys who's had to prove himself at every level. Grounded down to David Wright at third. And Gonzalez barely jogging, thrown out, 1 away.
You know what's interesting? It's the same pitch that he threw to Suzuki, or trying to throw to Suzuki. It's a slider down and away. He got it up and in the middle of the plate. The result was a Suzuki home run. I know it's the pitcher Gonzalez hitting, but that's where he wants his slider to be.
So 1 out. Here's Worth, who popped up his first time up. The Nationals have put together a winning month in every month of the season so far, and they're 6-3 in September.
Their worst month was May. They were 15-13.
And Worth drives one to left. Bay moves over and snags it. 2 down. So Worth hit it hard, but he's retired. Now 2 out of the inning for Bryce Harper. Harper drew a walk his first time up and then was thrown out stealing, part of a strike him out, throw him out double play that ended the first. With his strong push now late August, early September, Bryce Harper has put himself back into the conversation for National League Rookie of the Year. It had looked in the middle of the summer as though that point was fairly moot as far as Harper was concerned.
Yeah, he's going to finish strong. This guy is an electric player.
Well, he just plays the game hard. He runs everything out. He's got terrific speed, and you even notice him on ground balls, routine ground balls. He's so fast, how hard he runs to first base all the time. Runs everything out.
It has been the year of the very young rookie with Harper in the National League and Mike Trout, who may well be the MVP of the American League.
Trout is something special.
The Angels, who have been red hot now, 15 of their last 18, trying to get back in it, and they've got a big series starting against Oakland tonight in Anaheim. 3-1 now to Harper, but Trout has hit leadoff home runs each of the last 2 days. And in between, robbed Prince Fielder of a home run for the last out of the Saturday game. You see the National League rookie numbers. Not pictured there. Wade Miley, who may be the front runner, Arizona's fine young starter. Outside, and Harper walks for the second time. So McHugh has walked 2. Both times they've gone to Harper. And so Ryan Zimmerman will bat with 2 out and a runner at first. Zimmerman struck out his first time up. And as the Mets anticipate contract conversations with David Wright this winter, heading into his option year, he's presented with a homestand in which Chipper Jones just passed through, talking about playing his entire career with one club, and now David's good buddy Ryan Zimmerman, who signed a long-term contract right before the season began.
Well, he's another guy we didn't mention before that was hurt for a good part of the time, and if you look at his numbers now, he has caught up to everyone. 20 home runs, 80 RBI, trying to approach hitting 290 or above.
He's got almost 500 at bats now. Harper at first and 2 down, and McHugh with the soft toss.
You shouldn't say that he was out a lot, but he played hurt a lot.
Yep.
And then had a, they call it the mystery cortisone shot, hit the right spots, and after that he's just taken off.
It was late July, and he has been on fire since then.
And as far as those cortisone shots are concerned, for the fans out there, you could get one. And if they don't hit the spot of the injury, it does no good. The doctor, when he puts the needle in, if he hits it, he gets it in the location, then it works. But if they miss, it's nothing's going to happen.
So you're looking for a doctor with good control.
A guy who played Operation a lot as a kid.
Didn't set off the red buzzer.
That's right.
1-2 now to Zimmerman. How about Mousetrap? Does that work? McHugh ahead in the count 1-2 on Zimmerman. And it's driven to center field, chasing Torres a long way back. It's over his head, and it's out of here. Ryan Zimmerman with a 2-run homer, dead central, his 21st of the year. The second home run of the inning off Colin McHugh, and it's 3-0 Washington.
Well, it's really been the slider inning for McHugh. Both of them cost him, one against Kurt Suzuki, and this one again up in the strike zone, middle. I shouldn't say up, it was working its way down, but middle of the plate. And Keith, you talk about those hitters. Espinosa and Zimmerman have a hole up in the strike zone, but certainly don't down in the strike zone.
And another thing too, I think, for the folks out there, a hanger doesn't necessarily, you think in terms of a hanging breaking ball being up. It can be down, but you miss over the middle or middle end, like that one right there, and that's what happens.
Curveball to LaRoche for a strike.
And this is a bomb.
Good 430 feet away. So 2 home runs in the inning for the Nats. 3 runs have scored. All of them will be unearned as the result of Shopik's error. Nonetheless, Colin McHugh now in a 3-0 hole. He uses a couple of curveballs to get ahead on LaRoche, who drilled a double down the right field line his first time up. Suzuki led off the inning with a home run. And Zimmerman adding a 2-run shot. Well, the Nats have the best pitching staff in the league, so when they get 3, they're in pretty good shape. The Nats come off a homestand where they went 8-3, and they scored 7 or more runs in 8 of the 11 games. So their offense is just clicking. Driven to center by LaRoche, and Torres eases back to get it, and that retires the side. Well, all the runs are unearned because of Kelly Shopik's error. That prolonged Suzuki's time at bat. Kurt Suzuki took advantage with his 5th home run of the year, and then with 2 out, a walk and a Ryan Zimmerman bomb, and it's 3-0 Washington in the 3rd. Andres Torres leads off the home 3rd for New York against Gio Gonzalez, who's fortified with a 3-0 lead now. And it's taken outside by Torres, who has hit very well from this side of the plate this year. .292 as a right-hand batter with a .401 on base percentage. And he fouls back the fastball from Gonzalez, 1-1. Colin McHugh on deck, then Ruben Tejada as the Mets try and fight back in the 3rd. If the Mets do not score at least 2 runs in this inning, it would be their 100th consecutive home inning without scoring more than 1, as Zimmerman makes the diving grab on Torres's line drive for the first out.
Well, they don't give the goal away for nothing. There's the hot corner. Good hands.
On his toes.
Look at that little jump
to his left. You know, just feeling like that ball was going to be to his left made the play.
Just anticipation.
Yes.
Pretty. Carly Simon.
Making you wait. Colin McHugh looking for his first big league hit, and he takes it high for ball one. Anyway, if the Mets do not score 2 this inning and get to 100 straight home innings without 2 runs in an inning, it would be the 3rd longest streak in history. And the other 2 streaks, 119 innings at home without scoring 2 in an inning, the 1909 Washington Senators, and 103 innings by the 1913 Chicago White Sox. So if they don't score in this inning, this would be the longest stretch of home innings without scoring 2 runs in 99 years. It's driven Terry Collins to distraction how the Mets have failed to score in their home ballpark. And tonight it led him to make a very small change as McHugh strikes out in terms of the order in which the Mets take batting practice. Just grasping at straws, as Terry said.
Well, they've jostled with the times. They're hitting the lineup last. And Ronnie, we were talking about before the game. Pitchers hit first. Bench hit second group with the starting pitcher. And then the lineup hit 1 through 3 was the first group that hit for 20 minutes. And then the 6 through 4, 5, 6, and then 8, 9 all had 20 minutes. And in your home, then you had an hour and a half before the game started.
And Terry's contention was the top of the lineup had been batting first during batting practice, and they were done almost 2.5 hours before the game.
You know what I really feel? They don't take infield anymore. Any of the clubs. So they do all their infield work prior. And I think it adds to a lot of the teams being tired. The guys get to the park too early. They're here all day. They're doing things out here that, I never liked to take infield. And no, I didn't with the Mets. But I always had my ground balls when the other groups were hitting.
Well, that raises a larger question. And, with all the conversation about this guy, Ruben Tejada, wearing down late in the year. And we hear this more and more now about players getting tired late in the season. And you look at the number of hours that players spend in the ballpark now versus what they did even 15, 20 years ago. And it's no wonder that players get tired. They're spending so much more time in the ballpark and working. Does that make sense?
I would agree. You couldn't drag me. Wild horses couldn't get me out of the house and get me here at 12 noon. Okay? I'm sorry. You got a 7 o'clock game. You hit at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, 4:30. I'll get here an hour before I hit. And that's all there is to it.
I mean, everybody's in the ballpark by 2:30.
Well, there's a real pressure to be at the ballpark early, even if you're not doing anything.
Well, it starts in the minor leagues, too. If you don't, you're not going to get to the big leagues.
But I just wonder why organizations have not made the connection between the amount of time players spend in the ballpark and the fact that players don't seem to be able to play as many games without getting tired as they used to.
And well, then I know that there's more teams out west. It's a little tougher travel schedule. But
Tejada's on with a walk.
These guys come in shape. I mean, I used to always start the season. I played by middle of May, middle of May, playing every day. I was down to my fight and weight, which was 203. I started every year 210. I had a little extra poundage on me, and I was in shape because I ran long distance because I wanted that little extra for August and September.
I think it's something that is a very serious thing. We're kind of, hopefully we're not being flippant here. It's a very serious thing to look at about being at the ballpark all day. And why are you at the ballpark all day? Well, they've got such a situation at these beautiful, beautiful ballparks. Maybe we're just jealous that have these beautiful weight rooms and pool rooms. I mean, swimming pools, great conditions. They come to the ballpark mostly on the road. They have chefs that'll cook you 1 or 2 meals before the game starts. I don't know. I think that it's a very long season. I think mentally you can become stale when you're at the ballpark all that time. And we were mentioning infield practice, and they don't take it anymore. And it's not that we think they should take infield practice, but infield practice was always for this. Not only to take ground balls and to get ready for the game, but just like a prize fighter, shadow boxes before he goes in the ring to get a lather going. That's what infield practice was, to get you ready, get that lather before you're going to go out there in 15, 20 minutes.
And when you ask the question, what you hear is, well, guys have different routines now, and that may well be, and they grow up with different routines. The game has changed somewhat, but at the same time, when you're putting together a team that you hope can win a championship, you want to get your best players on the field as much as you can. And if all the work that they're doing and the time they're spending in the ballpark is keeping them from being on the field and effective as much as you'd like, as Cedeno was, then you really have to take a step back, don't you, as an industry, and think about what you've wrought here.
Well, as an everyday player, I can just tell you this. My routine is McCaddy's going to come out and have a chat with Gonzalez after the two-out walks.
That's
back to back.
4 walks already for Gonzalez.
The routine for me, and particularly at home, was you took infield. It was a 7:30 games when we played.
Yeah.
So 7 o'clock was home infield. Took 5 minutes. 7:05 to 7:10 was the visiting infield. Then you had 20 minutes to start the game. I like to have a half hour. That's why I asked Dave if I could not take infield. Number one, I didn't need it. I took my ground balls very seriously during BP. I liked that half hour just to get ready for the game, and I went out around 20 minutes after 7:35 start and did my sprints and did my stretching, and I was ready to go. Played catch and ready to go. But I think the big issue here I'm getting away from, that's more day to day, is that Ronnie makes a good point. You can get stale coming in here. You're at the ballpark all day. You're in a doggone bunker down there. You're hitting in the cage. They hit too much.
Here's David Wright tying right at the plate in a 3-0 game. And he takes the breaking ball wide. On the road, it used to be that the bus to the ballpark went 3 hours before the game.
Right.
4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game.
Right.
And half the team would be on it.
Right.
Now, the first bus to the ballpark goes at 1:30.
I understand.
And I'm only talking about 10 years ago. It's changed that much in that short a period of time.
And another good point. Remember, I recalled I had a conversation with Josh Tolley when he was young and first came up his first year. He felt pressure in the minor leagues that if he didn't come as he was moving up the chain and didn't come at 12 o'clock and do everything that had to be done, they have all that stuff for them down there too, that he wasn't going to make it to the big leagues. There's that kind of peer pressure. And it's coming from management.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. I think if somebody showed up at 3:30 for a 7 o'clock game now, there would be enormous pressure on them.
You could easily do it. Just be the best player on your team.
Exactly. But it's got to get there.
Yeah, right.
Got to get there first. It's getting back to the point. So many times, if the label on your back, you never get it off. So all it takes is one coach not to like your act, and you may not go up the food chain as far as getting to the big leagues and up to the next level in minor leagues.
So why is one thing we didn't explain? Why is Terry having them hit different? He doesn't want as much time in between the game and when they hit, because on the road they hit much better, and it's only 45 minutes after batting practice that the game starts.
Right, because the home team always hits first in terms of batting practice, which never made any sense to me since the visiting team hits first in the game.
If you recall, Jerry Manuel at one time, and also Terry, said you guys don't come to the ballpark until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
I think it was a day game, and he ended up having the bus at 11 or something like that.
Made sure everybody was supposed to be on the bus and left it 2 hours before the game. Well, it's a culture change, and things have changed, and it's very hard to unring a bell. I mean, it would be very hard to convince this generation of players that they're doing too much work or spending too much time in the ballpark. But you certainly, as an industry and as an organization, would have to at least ask those questions. Curveball outside, and it's 3-2 to right as Gonzalez continues having trouble throwing strikes. Runners get set to go with 3-2 and 2 down. And Wright takes the curveball, strike 3 call. Gonzalez couldn't get the curveball over, but he did when he had to right to get himself out of a third-inning jam. Fourth strikeout for Gio Gonzalez. 3-0 Nats after 3. Get a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Nationals matchup and R.A. Dickey's search for win number 19 with insider info and exclusive interviews, plus heated debate on the latest New York sports news on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local. Weekdays starting at 5 only on SNY. Michael Morse leads off the fourth inning for Washington and breaks his bat, sends one to the hole, and he's got himself an infield hit. So at the cost of a piece of lumber, Michael Morse has his 101st hit of the year.
Oh, that bat right there is a good soldier. Went down with a hit.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The broken bat, the remnants were chasing at such an angle that David Wright had to take an angle on the ball that wasn't the angle he needed to take to make the play. Watch David. He's got to go backwards because the bat's coming at him, and that's not the angle he would have to take if it hadn't been a broken bat. But perfectly placed by Morse.
So third straight inning, the Nats have had the leadoff man on. The fourth hit against Colin McHugh, and here's Ian Desmond. Batted with the infield in the second inning, and Tejada made a nice backhand stop and threw him out. And McHugh comes up and in. Strike one. Danny Espinosa waiting on deck. Morris not a base stealer.
I used to remember Desmond kind of holding that bat on his shoulder, almost horizontal to the ground. And look at his the way he prepares and holds his hands today in his bat. It's almost in a 45-degree angle, no longer that horizontal to the ground.
It's back when he was wearing number 6. Curveball by McHugh is outside. Changed his number, changed his angle of the bat.
Davey Johnson had me talk to him. I think it was not the last series, the series prior to in Washington, to Desmond and around BP, and called him over, and he asked me if I ever looked for breaking ball. I said hardly ever. He was stunned. I said, what do you want to do? You want to hit a curveball? You want to hit a fastball? They're going to throw you the fastball. He called me sir. I loved it. felt like I was a full bird colonel or something.
I was going to say, are there like bars on your shoulder? Ribbons on your chest? 3-2 now to Desmond.
He only has a permanent C. That's all that's left.
That's true. Should have branded that thing on you.
Charlie's idea was who was the equipment manager then, would put that big C on.
Feels like a hockey player.
Right.
3-2. Runner does not go, and Desmond hits it well to right center field. Torres deep in the gap. Hairston at the wall, and it's out of here. A 2-run homer for Ian Desmond, his 22nd of the year. The Nats' 3rd home run in the last 2 innings, and it's 5-0 Washington. And the Nats are teeing off on Colin McHugh.
Well, for an opposite field home run in the gap, and it's a fly ball, this is a bomb. Fastball belt high out over the plate. He's a high ball hitter.
Might have got a little help from the wind, which is blowing left to right tonight, but still awfully well hit.
Well, the one difference, guys, is that at this level, it's harsh to say, you just don't get those pitches back. You might get them back in AA, AAA. You don't get them back with these guys.
Especially when you're facing a team that's just red hot with the bats right now. Now Espinosa hits one out to left center. Back goes Torres near the wall, and he makes the leaping catch. Nice play by Torres for a long first out, robbing Espinosa of extra bases.
Well, not worried about the wall one bit. That's just a nice catch.
A fearless play by Torres. Very nice. You know, he's been running into some walls the last 10 days or so, and again, fearless, took it on, knew his pitcher needed an out, and made a nice play.
Last couple of innings, the Mets outfielders have been in full retreat, and Torres going up against the wall to make that fine play. Now Suzuki, who got the whole thing started with a solo home run in the 3rd inning. So in a span of 8 batters, the Nats hit 3 home runs. There's the good curveball by McHugh.
You know, we spend so much time on talking about Washington's pitching. We tend to forget about this lineup that's been put together by Mike Rizzo and played by Davey Johnson. You got a couple of free agents and Worth, the big signing, and LaRoche. You have 4 homegrown players and Harper, Zimmerman, Desmond, who just hit the home run, and Espinosa, and a late trade in Suzuki. That's putting together a team.
More on the Nats. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Obviously, the Nationals have a lot of talents. We're seeing that on display tonight. But there is a mentality to them that we've seen, too. There is a certain edge. They've been clutch, like the win they had on Saturday, the Worth homer in the 9th, and then the extra inning win. And they have that mojo to them if you watch them enough this year. And part of that is the veterans they have on the bench, guys like Mark DeRosa and Chad Tracy. And Tracy told me, you know, yeah, it is an attitude, but I think it's the feeling that we're good. It's a confidence that we're good, and we take that on the field every single day. I go back to spring training, and then we looked around the room. We knew a couple things. We knew we had good pitching, and we knew we had a lot of good athletes in that room. Our question then was, can these athletes turn into grinders? That was the big thing. Baseball is a grind, and you know what? Went out that first week, got off to a good start, and early on we felt good, and it's just kind of carried us this entire time.
Well, I guarantee you, Kev, they went into the season knowing they had the potential to win the division. You got to do it when the season starts, and with better manager than Davey Johnson, who's been there. But the confidence builds as the season develops, and it's why is it developed? Because you go out there and you win. And the confidence follows, and it just builds on each other. Then you feel like you go out there every day and you feel like you're going to win every day.
And how much of that has to do with the manager? You know, it's often said about many sports teams that they reflect the attitude of their leader, and you know, Davey's got a certain arrogance about him, which I think was reflected in the way you guys played under him.
You know, Davey in '86 said we're going to run away with it, so that put a little pressure on us. I don't know if it, the arrogance, but I do say one thing about Davey. He's a very confident person. And if you're not a confident person, you're going to be left on the wayside on teams that he leads.
And Davey puts a challenge out there for you. And that's, you were athletes. You take the challenge. You wouldn't be here if you didn't take the challenge. You've had competition your whole life.
You know, Ronnie, just like you were saying, I asked Tracy about Davey Johnson's influence, and he said obviously huge. He said he treats you like a man, and he has high expectations, and you know that's for everybody. Even the 19-year-old Harper is like he hasn't been treated any differently than anyone else. And I asked him how that relates to the veteran guys on this bench, and he gave me an example, small one, but I guess it's the feel of not saying too much, only opening your mouth when you really want it to count. And Davey is like that. He said, I'll give you an example. There's one of our younger players who was pinch hitting in a game not too long ago. Davey sent him out on deck. And wanted to call him back, but he wasn't paying attention. He still went in the game, pinch hit, stayed in the game. So, Davey, he wasn't paying attention. Davey wanted to call him back. Instead of, making an example out of him, as Suzuki, with the big swing and a miss, he goes down. He said he pulled me over, explained to me the situation. Can you have a conversation with him? And Chad Tracy said, so I did. It was no big deal. I went up to him and said, hey, just FYI, next time, just look out for this. And just little things, little ways of handling situations, guys.
It empowers your people on your bench. When Davey first got here, I remember he told me, he said, there's 3 utility infielders on my bench. How can you win with that? You need some people who can hit the ball, hit it out of the park, play for a week if a guy's down or 10 days. So that was one of the things he really changed on this team.
That's at the bullpen going behind Colin McHugh now as he misses with a curveball to Gonzalez. Justin Hampson, the left-hander. Elvin Ramirez, the right-hander. Up behind McHugh, having his second straight rough start after a very impressive debut. And Gonzalez floats one to the right side. Cedeno's got it. That ends the inning, but the Nats tack on 2 more. Their 3rd home run in the last 2 innings. Ian Desmond going the other way. His 22nd home run of the year. Nats continue to play long ball, and they lead 5-0 in the 4th. League, the latest recipient of the SNY Play Ball Award. The grant helped pay for repairs to their field, which was damaged by recent storms. You can see more of their story and those of past recipients at sny.tv/playball. Rough night at the office so far for Colin McHugh. He's given up 5 runs and 5 hits, all of them on home runs over the last 2 innings. Scott Hairston leads off for the Mets against Gio Gonzalez in the 4th. It's been an odd night for Gonzalez so far. He's walked 4 in the first 3 innings, but he hasn't given up a hit. Struck out 4. Gonzalez trying to become the first pitcher in the majors to get to 19 wins. R.A. Dickey will try and get to the same place tomorrow. By the way, speaking of R.A., I saw a fascinating stat today that I was not aware of related to R.A.'s season and the Mets. Dickey is 18-4, which is a phenomenal winning percentage of .818. If Dickey were to finish at 18-4, and presumably the Mets finish with a losing record this year and they're 10 games under 500, it would be the best winning percentage in history for any starter on a team with a losing record. Best in history. The current mark is 19-5 as Hairston hits one to deep left center field. Back goes Harper near the wall, and it's out of here. Scott Hairston puts the Mets on the board with his 16th home run of the year. 5-1 Washington. And for Hairston, who had not hit a home run against a left-hander since July the 5th against Cole Hamels, that's his 10th against a lefty this year.
A lot of these balls have been centered, but the ball's jumping out of the ballpark today.
Fastball right down the outer half. Full extension. I don't know what Harper thought.
Gio knows it. Gio's given up all year, but he knew immediately it was gone.
Harper was climbing the wall. The ball was 30 feet back.
It's the Mike Shannon play. You never know.
Well, I got a better one. Dane Orge. Been St. Louis. Stargell. I know I've told this story before. Stargell hit one on the upper deck around 5. It's been Bull Bush Stadium. Upper tank, right field line. 5 seats, 5 rows back in the upper tank, and Dane crashed in the wall, going for trying to catch it.
It's all about the effort. Anyway, just to complete the thought about RA and the winning percentage, the best record for a losing team was Sandy Koufax in 1964 for a Dodger team that finished 2 games under 500. Sandy was 19-5, which is a .792 winning percentage. So it's just another way of looking at the phenomenon that has been R.A. Dickey this season.
I always think about the Carlton year when he won 27, when the Phillies won what, 58? 59 games that year.
But he lost 10, I think, that year, so he had a .730 winning percentage, which is nice, but not as good as .818. 3-2 to Davis, who struck out his first time up. R.A. already at 18 wins, first Met to get there in 22 years. For that matter, as Davis draws a walk, that's 5 walks now for Gio Gonzalez. Gio Gonzalez is the first Nationals/Expos pitcher to get to 18 wins since 1985 when Bryn Smith won 18 games for the Expos.
Bryn Smith was quite a pitcher.
Steve Rogers, I always think about with there's the wins, Empire City wins list there. When I think of, I always think of Steve Rogers with the Expos. To me, 18, 19 game winner. I think they had a 20 game winner. Was Ross Grimsley a 20 game winner with the Expos?
Ross Grimsley is the only Expo or National to ever win 20 games. Popped up by Kelly Shopick, and Jason Worth tracking it through the wind. And that's the first out of the inning. Rogers won 19. That was his best year in 1982. And Grimsley won 20 in 1978. Those are the only 2 pitchers in that franchise who've ever won more than 18 games. I had thought Bill Gullickson had won more at one point, but I guess not.
I think Bill won 15 one year.
He had an 18 strikeout game, didn't he, Gullickson?
He had a funky delivery home.
Forgot about Carl Morton's second year of the franchise when the Expos were awful. He won 18 games.
Right.
Here's Jason Bay, 1 out and 1 on, and he takes the curveball down for ball 1. There's somebody with an Expos jersey.
Never cared for that jersey.
The blue one, you mean?
Even the home, I never liked their uniform.
How about the hats?
Oh, it looked like a circus.
Well, the Expos and the Mets had a great affinity. You know, the Expos played their first ever game at Shea Stadium in 1969, an 11-10 Montreal win, and then they played their last ever game at Shea Stadium in 2004 before they moved to Washington.
Rusty wasn't the original member of that team, Expos? Did he go over that?
No, if he was an original member.
I thought he went over one of the players that went over that was a part of the draft.
The expansion draft?
I don't think so.
I don't think you wouldn't leave Rusty off your list. I think it would have to be a trade at some point. Could be wrong. Expansion draft usually is the guys that you don't
you're
want.
right. You're right. You're right.
I mean, Rusty was a superstar. Or well on his way.
Well, Rusty was in Montreal their first season in 1969, right. So he was an original Expo in that regard.
He came from where?
From Houston.
That's right.
Day keeps the at-bat alive.
Rusty's in the house today. He's telling us an interesting story about Steve Carlton.
Rusty was traded from the Astros to the Expos for Jesus Alou and Don Clendenin, and that's when Clendenin refused to report, and he wound up being traded to the Mets and became a World Series hero in 1969.
Rusty always has a reason for the success of the Mets, right?
I'm sorry, I cut you off about your story you were going to tell.
I was just Rusty was just telling us about how he had a hard time hitting Steve Carlton, and one time he got lucky, hit a 3-0 pitch over the wall, 3-run home run.
Day drives one to right, but right at Worth, and that's the second out.
And the next time he came up, he said Carlton hit him right in the middle of the shoulder blades. He thought he broke his shoulder. So he hated Carlton the rest of his career. Couldn't wait to get up at bat every single time to get another hit off him. And he said finally when Carlton went to the Hall of Fame, Rusty ends up having the golf, and his golf team has Carlton in it. They win the whole thing in the golf up at the Hall of Fame, and they were jumping around like kids with their arms around each other. He said they've been good friends ever since. So you never know when things are going to change.
Enemies to friends.
Very quickly.
Through a couple of putts. Andres Torres fouls it off. By the way, going full circle on the Expos and wins. Bill Gullickson did win 20, just not for the Expos. He won 20 for the Tigers in 1991. Torres hit one to third, a line drive that Zimmerman caught his first time up.
It's interesting. You have an 18-game winner here. Good offense by the Nationals, but I think even Gio would admit very sloppy game by him right now so far.
5 walks in 3 2/3 innings.
He wanted that one.
This might be a 5 and fly kind of night for Gio to try and get his 19th win. That's battling them hard. Torres hits one off the end of the bat, and it's 2-2. Justin Turner's out on deck to pinch hit for Colin McHugh if Torres can keep the inning going. Let's try to break that 100-inning streak of putting up no crooked numbers. 100 innings at home without getting more than 1 run in an inning. There's Turner on deck. Now a full count to Torres, and so that'll put Davis in motion with 3 and 2 and 2 out.
It's interesting how Gio can just lose command.
Yeah. He's walked 68 batters now in 179 innings. So he has that propensity every once in a while to lose control.
Remember, he dropped the 3-2 curveball on David.
Throws the fastball, and Torres drives it to right center, and Bryce Harper knocks it down. Can't make the catch. Davis to third. He'll be held there, and diving into second with a double is Torres. Ike had already broken it down between second and third. I don't think he could have scored, but he didn't really give himself a chance.
Well, nice effort by Harper, and does a great job keeping the ball in front. That ball gets by him, but he had it pretty much figured out here. Nice glove save.
So now the Mets have 2 in scoring position. Justin Turner will bat for Colin McHugh. Harper, look, he broke his belt.
Well,
that dive.
when you make a dive, you'll just you'll break the belt buckle sometimes in the front.
That happened to me once on a dive. That means you're good core. Very strong. It's all those sit-ups I didn't do.
Very strong. Very strong. Here's Turner, who started at shortstop yesterday and went 0 for 3. Batting as a pinch hitter, 2 in scoring position. Mets have a run home in the inning on the Hairston home run. And at the feet of Turner, stopped by Suzuki, ball 1. Davis at third, Torres at second with 2 down. This will be the 25th pitch of the inning for Gio Gonzalez. He's having an awful trouble throwing strikes. And he gets that curveball over, and it's 1-1. And Turner pops it up. Who's going to get it? Worth coming in from right to claim it and makes the catch on the move to end the inning. Mets get on the board. Gonzalez avoids further damage, stranding 2 in scoring position. Hairston leads off with his 16th home run of the year. It's now 5-1 Washington after 4. Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Elvin Ramirez comes on to pitch for the Mets as we go to the 5th.
Well, I haven't seen Elvin pitch yet since he's come back. 3 strikeouts in his only appearance so far after being recalled. Had a tough go of it really with his control when he was first brought up. They like his arm though, 93 plus.
Pitched Saturday against the Braves and gave up a pinch hit home run to Eric Hinsky. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. First Met player to win a Gold Glove. White. Is that Buddy?
Buddy or Agee?
Agee.
Oh.
There you go. Buddy won it the next year in 1971, his only Gold Glove. Doug Flynn won one in 1980, and then the Hernandez era began.
And I never looked back.
You won 6 as a Met?
I forget.
Yeah.
There's so many. You lose track.
So you actually won more Gold Gloves as a Met than you did as a Cardinal?
First one was 78. My last one was 88. Yeah, I guess so.
5 as a Cardinal, 6 as a Met. Jason Worth leading off the 5th against Melvin Ramirez. So here's my question. Where are all those Gold Gloves?
They're in the basement.
Door stoppers?
No. They are in the basement, and the basement's unfinished, so they're just down there collecting dust. And I have one show. I have the 86 up, I believe. My daughters have 3 of them.
Really?
Yeah, well, Melissa was born in 80, so she's got 1980. Mary was born in 83. She's got 83. And Jesse got the championship year, 82.
Now, so you've got a bunch left over.
Oh, you want one?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm the only guy in this booth that doesn't have one.
Well, it's a big year for you, Gary.
Anyone would do. Of course, Ronnie won his only Gold Glove in 1989 as Worth draws a walk. First man that Ramirez faces. And that was significant, not necessarily because you won one, but because you were the last person other than Greg Maddux to win one for a decade and a half.
That's right. I always finished in the top, 2, 3 every year and could never get over the hump. I would always have 2 or 3 errors a year on pickoffs, so that kind of cost me. And '89 was I guess a better year. But I'm lucky. The Mets were nice enough. They have it down in the museum. So mine was in a box in the closet.
Wait a second. He's got like 8 in his basement, and you gave away the only one you had?
Yeah, to put it in the museum here.
That's very nice of you.
I have one for the Mets in the museum, too.
Is that right?
Yes.
I'll have to go look at it.
I don't know if they're showing it, still displaying it. I don't know. Lorraine Hamilton, of course, was a wonderful Lorraine. I don't know if they've got it sopped away somewhere, or they gave it back to me, or are they still showing it? I really don't know.
Harper's been up twice and walked both times. So you won it in '89. Maddux won it the next year and won 13 in a row.
That's right.
Mike Hampton broke his streak in 2003, and then Maddux won 5 more.
Yeah, fantastic fielder was Hampton.
Yeah, he was a great fielder.
Yeah.
Certainly had a great year fielding the 1 year he spent as a Met in 2000, but couldn't beat out Maddux. 2-1 to Harper. And Maddux won 18.
He surpassed Brooks Robinson and Jim Cott, who were the all-time leaders with 16 for a very long time, obviously. They both played in the same generation in the 60s. Well, Kitty wound up playing into his 40s. Jim Cott was a member of our 1982 World Championship team in St. Louis. He was our middle reliever from the left side, and he pitched an occasional doubleheader.
Yeah. He worked quickly now.
Yes, he did. He was sweet.
Of course, I remember Jim Cott as the co-ace of the 1965 Minnesota Twins, who faced the Dodgers in the World Series that year. As Harper pops one up, who's going to take it? Wright comes in and takes charge. One away.
Was Camilo Pascual the
Mudcat Grant?
Mudcat Grant.
Camilo Pascual was the 3rd star.
They had was it Jim Perry on that team too?
Yeah, Jim Perry
and Boswell.
I don't think Dave Boswell was there yet.
Okay.
Kitty have to pitch against Koufax in Game 7.
Yes,
exactly. Lost that game 2-0. Koufax pitching on 2 days rest.
Thank God they didn't shut him down.
Kitty said that was the last World Series game Koufax won, because '66 was his last year, and he lost his only start when the Orioles swept, and then he retired at age 31. Here's Zimmerman, who homered his last time up.
Jim told me the story that they had every game, your World Series, that particular game starter had to take a picture with the 2 starters together, and they were warming up, and he had so much atomic bomb Koufax on him on his arm that Jim's got the picture in his with tears coming down his eyes from the vapors off of Koufax. And if people don't know what atomic bomb is, there's various I guess you'd call them bombs for their heat, and atomic bomb was the biggest one. That's why they call it the hottest one. That's why they call it atomic.
One year when I was not feeling great, '87, I used to wear that the same way, Keith.
and ended up damaging skin because it would literally eat through your skin. But it would keep your arm still pitching. So.
Zimmerman out on strikes. That's some serious heat from Elvin Ramirez for the second out. So hot, it's a Cholula. Kind of like
right down
atomic bomb.
That's right down the middle.
Well, as long as we're talking Gold Gloves, here's a quiz for you guys.
Okay.
Only 2 players in Major League history to win Gold Gloves at 2 different positions.
Pete Rose.
Nope.
No. Craig Biggio.
One of them is still playing.
Seriously.
In the National League East. Although not playing much these days. The other was a punter.
Oh, yeah, Erstad. Wanted in center field and first base.
Who?
Darren Erstad.
I wouldn't have known that.
LaRoche is 1 for 2, doubled his first time up tonight. He takes high from Ramirez.
Well, one thing about Ramirez, he can bring it. He can never hone his pitches. Philly, they're red hot.
It's Kyle Kendrick who continues to pitch well. Phillies won 12 of their last 16 to get back on the fringes of the wild card race, 6 behind.
Did the other win it at second and third, Gary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Placido Polanco.
There you go.
The only reason I got it is because she said he's not playing anymore.
Kevin Franson's done such a great job. He's in the highlight reel every day, making great plays at third base. 2-1 now to LaRoche with Michael Morris on deck. Polanco won it at second base with the Tigers and then at third base with the Phillies. And Ramirez falls behind 3-1.
The one thing I see in evaluating Ramirez, Keith, we've only seen a little bit of him, is that awfully hard thrower, but everything is pretty firm. You know, there's no real big breaking pitch or anything to really get the hitter off that hard fastball.
I think he's got a splitter.
Yeah.
Oh boy, threw that one by him.
That's why they like his arm.
This has got some Cholula on it, I'll say that. A garlic Cholula.
Avoid at all costs.
3-2. Worth will be on his way. And LaRoche goes down swinging. Impressive from Elvin Ramirez. He strikes out Zimmerman and LaRoche back to back. Halfway through now at Citi Field, 5-1 Washington. Ruben Tejada leads off the last of the 5th inning for New York, and as we've started winding down the season, we've begun taking a look at each individual Met and assessing his year and the progress that he's made and the future that he might bring, and kind of putting him in perspective around the league. And today we take a look at Tejada, just 22 years old, his 2nd full season in the majors and his 1st as the full-time shortstop, and Mets have control over him for 4 more years. So this is a cornerstone for this team, and I guess the question is, when you look at the strides he's made offensively and the way he's played defensively in the 1st season at shortstop for Ruben, is he the kind of guy that you can build around?
Well, he's a shortstop, and he is Wilson Pickett out there, so you always got to be strong up the middle. He's got a solid glove. I think he's got a more steady glove than Jose Reyes. Hasn't got the arm of Jose Reyes, but not a lot of guys do. So defensively, it's a plus. You've got a shortstop out there, and anything he brings you offensively is a plus. And he's come a long way offensively. I tell you what, I didn't think he was this kind of hitter. You know, coming into this game tonight, hitting .290 in 93 games. I guess if you're going to look at a negative, you wish he could be a little bit faster, but he's not. But I can live with that. He's got to hit the ball on the ground. I like to see him in a position where he can hit and run more, and a position in the lineup where they can hit and run him more, which would be second.
Ideally, he's not a leadoff hitter.
Correct.
He's kind of been forced into that role this year.
Right. So the big concern is obviously the stamina. Can he play the full season? And if not, then you know what? You get 125 out of him, and spot rest him at times to keep him strong. But I just think he's a terrific player. I like his demeanor, his attitude.
Dumps that one into right field for a base hit. So the Mets get the leadoff man out of the 5th, and Tejada's been on base 3 times in a row. Well, it's been quite a year for Tejada. Certainly there was a lot on his shoulders coming into spring training. He didn't arrive in Port St. Lucie quite as early as Terry Collins would have liked as he took over for Jose Reyes. But in his own quiet way, he has filled that spot admirably.
Well, when I look at Tejada, you know, in a off season of trying to answer some of the many question marks you might have, I think he's so far exceeded any expectations I thought he was going that I had for him. I didn't know that he was going to be so quick to the ball and be a 280, 290 hitter that it's been this year. I didn't realize how great his baseball instincts are at 22 years old and playing that position. And the other thing he has, which I really think people underestimate, he's got a great kind of temperament to play every day and to, you know, roll with the 0 for 4s and be happy, but let's get him tomorrow when you have a big day.
Now Tejada's been hitting leadoff most of the year, and his numbers have come down recently, but here's how he fits in with the league. And he was 12th in OPS among Major League shortstops, so he's in the top half of Major League Baseball at age 22. And I guess the question then becomes, what could he be offensively? Is there another level he can reach? I mean, he's got 1 home run this year. Is he going to be a guy who can hit 10 to 15 home runs, or do you not want him to go there?
He's not going to be a guy that's going to hit 10 to 15 home runs. I think that he's going to be a guy that is a very smart player, who runs the bases well. He's got to be in a spot in the lineup where you can hit and run with him and utilize his ability, his back control. And I think another thing real quick that I like about Ruben and Ronnie, we played together and we both played a long time. So a lot of players, you go to the ballpark, it's very important to know that his name's going to be in the lineup that day. There's a lot of guys that, you know, come up with the phantom back, the phantom hammy, and they take a little, they take a break. Well, Ruben comes to the park, you know, he wants to play every day. That's important.
I think the biggest compliment you could pay Ruben is that if you were a starting pitcher for the Mets today, you'd be very disappointed if his name wasn't in the lineup. You want that defense, you want that steadiness, and the other level would be, Gary, is that he could become a guy that hits 300 every year. I guess that would be the next level.
Well, he was over 300 for a good portion of the year. He's over 290 now as Cedeno strikes out for the first out of the inning. 5 strikeouts for Gio Gonzalez.
He could be a player like Buddy Harrelson. Buddy Harrelson was a heck of a player. Played the heck out of shortstop, could bunt, hit and run, do the little things. And that's what Ruben can be. And maybe better.
Here's David Wright with 1 out and 1 on. What about the stamina issue? Because it's come up now 2 straight years with Tejada, and he put on some extra upper body strength in the offseason to try and counteract the wear and tear of the season. And he missed 7 weeks this year with a quad injury, and yet he's still shown signs of fatigue down the stretch. What can he do to counteract that going into next year?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to, if he can, he's going to have to get himself in a situation where he just makes himself as strong as he can, so that in the season he doesn't get worn down too much. That's step 1. And I think step 2 also, with his baseball instincts, he's going to figure out how to make sure he takes care of himself during the course of the year to stay strong. Whether that's not taking BP one day, some of the things we were talking about earlier in the game. You don't usually get that stature though until you become a everyday player, which he has become, where you can say, hey, I don't need any batting practice today, or I don't need ground balls today. I'm just going to strap it on and play.
Gonzalez about to throw his 90th pitch of the night with 1 out in the 5th. David tops one.
Oh.
Gio slides to get it and makes the play for the out. That could have trickled away from Gonzalez, but he managed to put the clamps on it, and he gets right.
Well, we were talking about being able to field your position at a high level, and that is about as good as it gets. Now, you always assume that Zimmerman at some point is going to make that play, but you're not sure.
Well, for more on Ruben Tejada, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. He's in the Mo's zone. Report tonight brought to you by Modell's.
Well, what Tejada is going to do this offseason is work out with Jose Reyes, guys. That on Long Island at a Sports and Performance Center. Tejada is the guy that really initiated it. They both have the same agent, so that's part of it there. And it was brought up to him, kind of given to him as an idea a couple years ago, but he passed on it. But he went back to it this year because remember when Reyes had all those hamstring issues? That's where he went. And Jose felt that it really helped him kind of get past that. Tejada was really bothered by that quad injury that kept him out for 6 weeks this year. So he wants to do that. So he's going to go home to Panama for a while, come back and spend some good solid time here in New York with Reyes, training together. As far as Terry Collins, what he wants to see, he said, yeah, certainly offseason. And by the way, Collins loved the idea of those two training together, was all for it. But he said, it really is about maintenance, like you said, Ronnie. And also for me, diet. Want to make sure that's right as well.
Harrison pops one to foul ground. LaRoche squeezes it, and Gio Gonzalez has staggered his way through 5 innings. He's got himself a solid 4-run lead. We go to the 6th, 5-1 Washington. Elvin Ramirez starts his second inning of relief. Worked around a leadoff walk in the 5th and struck out a pair. He'll take on Michael Morse leading off in the 6th. The Nats hit 3 home runs in the 3rd and 4th inning against Colin McHugh. Suzuki, Zimmerman, and Desmond accounting for all 5 Washington runs. Morse is 1 for 2 at a broken bat single his last time up and scored in front of Desmond's home run. And he takes a strike from Ramirez. It'll be Morse, Desmond, and Espinosa for the Nationals in the 6th. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati tonight, the Pittsburgh Pirates are trying to right the ship. They have been struggling. The Pirates, who were the darlings of baseball the first half, now just 5 games over 500, but still in it, just 2.5 back in the wild card race. And so far tonight, Wandy Rodriguez has allowed just 1 hit over 6 innings, and they badly need that one against the first place Reds tonight. There are a couple of other very important series going on tonight. One is on the south side of Chicago, where the top 2 teams in the AL Central are playing again. Both of them have been struggling. The White Sox 2 games up on the Tigers going into the night, and Detroit's out to a 1-0 lead as they play in the 3rd. Facing Jake Peavy tonight, with the Jersey kid Rick Porcello pitching for Detroit. 1-2 to Michael Morse. And the breaking ball in there for a call, 3rd strike. That's 3 consecutive strikeouts for Elvin Ramirez.
I was talking about it before. We'll see this breaking ball from Ramirez, sharp on the corner, nice pitch after crowding Morse inside with fastballs.
He tends to throw, Ramirez that is, that breaking ball, Ronnie, in the dirt. He overthrows it. That one he took a little bit off, threw it for a strike.
Well, here's Desmond, who went the other way and hit a 2-run homer to right center his last time up. 22 home runs now for Desmond, which is 5 more than any shortstop has hit in the history of the Expos Nationals franchise. Orlando Cabrera hit 17 for the Expos in 2003. That had been the record, which has now been obliterated by Desmond.
Appropriate, since he was, I think, the last player drafted by the Expos on the roster of the Washington team.
Now Ramirez behind in the count, 2-0 and 3-0.
Well, very simple by Ramirez. Doesn't lift that leg very high. Just has an outstanding arm. Doesn't push off a lot. See that glove leading? That tries to rip around your left side so you can deliver that ball to the plate. He just has a naturally outstanding arm.
Elvin is 24 years old. He's been in the Mets farm system since 2005. Pitched in the Dominican Summer League for a couple of years. Missed all of last season because of injury, and yet able to get to the big leagues this year. Full count to Desmond with Danny Espinosa on deck. And while Elvin Ramirez is a bit unrefined at this moment, he is part of a cadre of young, hard-throwing pitchers who are infiltrating their way into this major league roster.
See the index finger. It's got to be the breaking ball as he tried to deliver. That's the index finger. Your middle finger is the one that'll pull down on the baseball. Of course, like freeze cam, and you can really show that that has become the breaking ball of a lot of the Mets pitchers this season.
Slow ground ball. Tejada rushes in, throws out Desmond, 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with this game break. And maybe just as importantly, Andrew McCutchen has a home run tonight, so it looks like he may be getting restarted. That's 26 now for McCutchen, who has struggled over the last few weeks. That's their bullpen going. The former Pirate Zach Duke beginning to throw. Gio Gonzalez, 5 innings, but 92 pitches. So not sure whether Davey has made a decision on him, but he might be done for the night. Meanwhile, the other Ramirez, Ramon, is up in the Mets bullpen. Espinosa hit one to the fence in center field that Torres made a terrific catch on in the 4th inning. And again, Elvin falls behind 2-0. He was behind on Desmond 3-0, came back to get him. Colin McHugh, the starter, went 4 innings, allowed 5 hits, 5 runs, only 2 of them earned, walked 2, struck out 3, and gave up the 3 home runs. All the runs on both sides have come on home runs tonight. There's Gio Gonzalez, who's hoping tonight to become the first 19-game winner in the majors this year. In fact, if you go back to August the 20th of last year, Gio has won 4 more games than anybody else in the majors. He's won 25 games since last August 20th. Who's second in the big leagues in that time? R.A. Dickey with 21 wins. That's ball 4, and Espinosa's on with a 2-out walk. Second given up by Ramirez. And now Kurt Suzuki, who opened the scoring tonight, given an extra life on a drop foul pop-up. Suzuki slammed his 5th home run of the year.
Well, the hanging curve, and that's really what got the best of McHugh. McHugh was his breaking ball today, was touched up. 3 home runs on the day.
Really an inspired decision on the Nats' part to make the trade for Suzuki. Of course, their #1 catcher, Wilson Ramos, went down with a knee injury earlier in the season, and Jesus Flores, who was pressed into the starter's role, just was not up to that task, and now Flores the backup to Suzuki.
And with the shutting down of Strasburg, your best pitcher is probably Zimmerman and Gonzalez. Suzuki caught Gonzalez the last 2 seasons in Oakland. He's caught a lot of young pitchers. He'd be a perfect guy here to be the caretaker of a young pitching staff, work them through, much like Hernandez was with those 2000 Oakland Athletics, with those Hudson and Mulder. Ramon Hernandez.
Oh, 2 to Suzuki. For the moment, Gio Gonzalez is out on deck. So it looks like he will continue on, although Davey reserves the right to change his mind. And Ramirez fires that fastball just off the plate, 1-2. He's got an extra gear with that fastball.
It's firm, I'll tell you. You mentioned it, Gary. You know, the Edgens and the Carsons and the Familias and the Mejias and the Ramirez's, Elvin. Just some fantastic arms, power arms.
And there's more where that came from. 2-2 now to Suzuki. The hardest thing right now is figuring out who belongs next year and where they belong. You know, Mejia's going to get a chance to start at least 1 game in the next week or so. Familia may get a chance to start before the end of the year, but there are only so many starters jobs available next year if everybody comes back healthy. 2-2, and he got him. Quite an impressive relief outing for Elvin Ramirez. He works 2 innings and strikes out 4. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the 6th, down 5-1. Brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Gio Gonzalez back out there for the bottom of the 6th inning. Working with a 5-1 lead. Mike Davis will lead off for New York. Davis, Shopik, and Bay. Mets have had tons of base runners tonight. What else is new? But have been unable to push anything across. Gonzalez has walked 5, given up 3 hits over 5 innings. But the Mets have stranded 6. Davis walked his last time up, and he swings at the first pitch fastball and fouls it off. That is what you wanted him to do, right?
Yeah, but he's I think he's become more of a pull hitter. That's why the power numbers are there. He's got 26 home runs.
And those 26 home runs tie him for 2nd in the majors among first basemen. Adam LaRoche has 29. Ike's got 26, which ties him with Albert Pujols for 2nd among major league first basemen. Prince Fielder has 25, and then comes Mark Teixeira with 21. Which is, you know, again, considering where Ike has come from, it's just stunning that he's in that kind of company. Obviously, the batting average is lower than he'd like, but it's been quite the last couple of months for Ike. 2-2 now to Davis with Shopik on deck.
Well, he dug himself a big hole in that first half, and it shows a lot of strength, a lot of mental strength to come back and finish strong.
3-2 to Davis. The walk numbers are way up. The strikeout numbers are down compared to earlier in the year. And he goes down on strikes. 6 strikeouts for Gio Gonzalez. That's the first down in the home 6th. Let's go back to our Toyota tweet of the game. We asked what your thoughts were on innings limits for pitchers, whether they actually might reduce injuries. Angst says innings limits don't help. Look what Texas has done, pitching more innings. Leave them in, let them pitch. I can't even pronounce what that name is, but he or she says the odds say fewer innings should mean fewer injuries, but who knows? Which I guess is the point.
That's
who really knows?
That was Mountain Biker. That was that tweetster.
Well, thank you. I needed someone to interpret for me.
You tweet with that person? Is that
No, I am not a tweetster.
Oh.
Are you a lurker?
No. Well, possibly.
Shopik's been up twice, both times flied out to Worth and right, and he hits this one off the end of the bat down to LaRoche. And Gonzalez gets over to cover for the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on. That Jason Bay, who hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to right field. He's 0 for 2. In an otherwise meaningless game at Target Field tonight, the Twins' Samuel Deduno has a no-hitter through 5 against the Cleveland Indians. Just thought you'd like to know. Remember the beginning of the year when Cleveland was relevant?
That's right. That's 2 years in a row for Cleveland. Hot starts.
I mean, you think the Mets have fallen off the second half? The Indians have gone from a team challenging for first place to 22 games under 500 now. .102 pitches now for Gio, who is nearing the end of the line. He came into the night 6th in the National League in ERA and 4th in strikeouts. R.A. Dickey came into the night leading the league in ERA and 3rd in strikeouts, and R.A. pitches tomorrow night. Both trying for their 19th win this week. There's a strike, 2-1. So with Kershaw having been scratched by the Dodgers yesterday and Johnny Cueto getting beat up in the Reds' loss to Houston yesterday, it's been a pretty good 48 hours for R.A. in his Cy Young quest. Little dribbler. Suzuki will have to play it and gets Bay by a stride to end the inning. Mets are on 1-2-3. 6 innings for Gio Gonzalez. Maybe not his best, but he gave up only 1 run. State Farm. Tonight's State Farm agent of the day is Brian Gill of Melville. Contact Brian's office at brianmgill.com. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Bank of America. What's there to like about SNY on Facebook? A chance to win $1,000 plus do over the voiceovers on the SNY commercials featuring disgruntled sports memorabilia. It's the SNY voiceover do-over contest. Deadline September 21st. To enter, visit Facebook and like SNY today. Roger Bernardina pinch hits for Gio Gonzalez as Ramon Ramirez is on the pitch for the Mets. So the Mets using both their Ramirez tonight. And Bernardina, who's done a nice job off the bench for the Nats, swings and misses. Did you see Ramon's stats up there just now?
Yes.
They were brought to you by Capital One Bank. And one comes up and hits Bernardina. Get them in the back of the head.
Oh, just off the left shoulder. Probably had a defining catch defensively for these Washington Nationals this year in Houston. Their ballpark ended up making a game-saving, game-ending catch behind a column.
Yeah, he disappeared and ended the game at the same time. And Ryan Matthews up in the bullpen for the Nats. It's a catch that nobody may be able to make in the future because they are planning big changes to that outfield in Houston.
They might even take Tal Hill down, right?
Might take the train down.
Really?
No more pumpkins for Keith to talk about.
Oh, that's wrong.
Slow ground ball, and Eichel taking himself to retire Bernardino, 1 away.
Houston, of course, going over to the American League next year.
Well, they've got new owner,
yeah,
new general manager, starting from scratch. They lost 106 last year. They're probably going to lose that many, maybe more this year. They've traded away every player who's under contract for next season.
Their new owner used to be a ball player, right? Was he a good college player that ended up playing in the minor leagues?
Jim Crane is his name.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's Jason Worth, who's 0 for 2 in a walk. By the way, in Cincinnati, the Reds have just tied up the Pirates 3-3 in the 7th. have to wonder at this point with the Pirates, are they even going to finish above 500?
Don't say it.
I mean, it looked like a lock 3 weeks ago. They've had a 19-year stretch of seasons in which they finished under 500, trying to avoid a 20th this year, but now they're just 5 games over.
I don't know if they're going to have enough to make the playoffs, but you know, good slider here from Ramirez. But you wish better for Clint Hurdle and that team. They really played their hearts out all season long, and you like to see them, at least if they don't make the playoffs, finish above 500.
They started getting some fans coming out to watch them there in August.
Well, we've said all along that PNC Park was a hidden gem, and that if they ever got good there, that people would flood to that ballpark because it's such a beautiful place to watch a game. And you hope, even if this is not the year for the Pirates, at least it's the start of a better cycle for them. Shoot, 20 years without a winning record. And Worth takes just off the plate, 2-2.
There's been some good stories all around baseball, including this Washington team. 175,000 people went to see the Yankees play the Orioles just 40 miles to the north. So good things happening around the league to some teams that have had a tough go of it.
Is it fair to say that Buck Showalter has nailed down Manager of the Year in the American League?
I think so.
He gets guys who haven't played in the major leagues in 5 years hitting home runs. Lou Ford.
Davey Johnson to be in the running.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race for Manager of the Year in the National League because there are a lot of candidates. Fly ball into right, and Hairston moving in. And retires Worth, 2 out. We'll look at the city probables for the remainder of the series. R.A. Dickey goes for win number 19 tomorrow against a suddenly struggling Jordan Zimmerman. Matt Harvey pitches the Wednesday night game, his second to last start against the local kid John Lannon. Bryce Harper bats with 2 out. I mean, you can't overlook what Bruce Bochy's done in San Francisco this year, patching together that team and keeping them in first place. I mean, Dusty Baker is leading a runaway in the Central. Not sure anybody predicted that. You've got the job that Hurdle's done in Pittsburgh. The Braves bouncing back after the collapse last year. That would put Freddie Gonzalez in the running. And of course, Davey Johnson's got the best record in baseball.
Davey's won the Manager of the Year once, I think, with Baltimore, not with the Mets any of those fine years.
Usually the teams that are expected to win do not earn Manager of the Year nods.
I tell you what, Philadelphia's an outside chance to get in, but if Philadelphia somehow miraculously gets into the wild card, Charlie Manuel's done a heck of a job.
Phillies are up 3-1 on Miami in the 8th tonight. They started the day 6 games behind the Cardinals for that second wild card spot. St. Louis playing in San Diego later on tonight.
And all of a sudden, San Diego is not an easy touch of late.
How about Chase Headley? Now leading the league in RBIs as Harper swings 3-0 and misses. Chase Headley has 102 RBIs to lead the National League. Who had that in the pool?
When the Mets went to San Diego, he had just been trying to be traded around all of baseball. No takers, and now by far their best player.
3-2 to Harper. By the way, Davey won 1997 with Baltimore, which was also the last time the Orioles had a winning record and went to the postseason.
That's right, 15 years ago.
3-2, and Harper cracks one toward the gap in left center, but overcomes Bay to pick it off and end the inning. So Ramon Ramirez sets him down 1-2-3. That'll take us to the 7th inning stretch with the Mets down 5-1.
Is that Coco Gijo?
It wasn't Secretariat, I know that. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Nats go to their bullpen. Ryan Matthews, who's been red hot, takes the mound.
He really has. Last 19 appearances, he has a 1.31 ERA. Sinker ball slider, gets a lot of ground balls.
Hard power sinker.
They'll face Andres Torres leading off in the home 7th. Well, the Mets have now gone 103 consecutive innings at home without scoring more than 1 run in an inning. That matches the second longest such streak in Major League history. If they go without at least 2 runs in this inning, they'd have the longest stretch since 1909 of no crooked numbers at home. And Torres quickly in a 0-2 hole. Mets have lost 19 of their last 23 home games. It started the game before the All-Star break. They lost to the Cubs, and then they just collapsed in their own ballpark the second half of the year. And a few good series on the road, notably that series in San Francisco where they won 3 out of 4. Mike Baxter on deck to pinch hit. But at home, nothing but offensive futility. Two and 2 to Torres leading off the home 7th. And Andres lifts one to left. And Morse right there to grab it. 1 out. Gio Gonzalez threw 104 pitches over 6 innings, allowed 1 run, 3 hits, walked 5, struck out 6. A lot of home run. His ERA goes down to 2.93. And Gonzalez in line for his 19th win against 7 losses. And his 3rd win against the Mets this year.
But when you're going to have a magical season that Gio's having, he's had some outstanding games this year. Occasionally you have to have one of those games where he didn't have his best stuff but made it work.
Certainly the case today. It was also the case the last time that the Mets faced him. Remember that game in Washington about 3 weeks ago? He gave up 7 hits and 2 walks in 5 2/3, but only 1 run. This was really a similar kind of game. Baxter pinch hitting, went 0 for 3 yesterday, just 6 for his last 38. And he pops one in foul ground. Zimmerman coming over right to the railing, but runs out of room. I mean, Keith, when you're an everyday player and you get to this point in the season for a team that is out of the race and you're struggling this badly, is there anything that a team can do or an individual can do to shake the doldrums?
It's very difficult. It's a can of corn fly ball here to center. Everybody knows that they're struggling offensively, and I've been on teams early in my career where you just feel like you're paddling upstream, and everybody's trying to do too much. The pitchers are aware they're not getting run support. It snowballs, Gare. It's difficult for younger players than it is for the veterans to deal with it. They tend to vet the younger players who haven't really had the experience of seasons behind them tend to press more. You just feel like it's an exercise in futility.
Baseball's such a team game, though, Keith. You know, if you're pitching, if you're a starting pitcher pitching every 5th day, it's a whole different deal because, you know, you're out there trying to get as many wins as you can by the end of the year.
Pop up by Tejada. Harper comes in to grab it.
And I'll ask you later about what I think individual players can do.
On to the 8th we go at Citi Field. 5-1 Washington. Level seat when R.A. Dickey takes them out against the Nationals and goes for his 19th win. Better yet, be there for R.A. the rest of the way with an R.A. ticket pack. Get a ticket for tomorrow and 2 vouchers for any remaining 2012 home games for as low as $43. Get to Mets.com now for your tickets. Third big league outing for Jeurys Familia.
A couple of good ones, one bad one, of course. That's why you have that ERA, but the numbers are less important than just getting this young man on the mound and seeing what he can do.
A very impressive big league debut in St. Louis, striking out Lance Berkman, first batter he faced in the big leagues. Then against the Braves on Saturday, gave up 2 runs and 4 hits in an inning of work. Of course, Familia is a guy who has never been a relief pitcher before. He had 1 relief outing in his minor league career. Always had been a starter, so adjusting to that. Drew Storen getting ready in the Nationals bullpen. Familia will face the heart of the batting order for the Nationals. Zimmerman, LaRoche, and Morse in the 8th inning. Colin McHugh started, gave up 5 runs, 2 of them earned on 3 home runs in 4 innings. Mets have gotten 3 hitless innings out of their bullpen, 2 from Elvin Ramirez and 1 from Ramon Ramirez. So the Mets will go with their first non-Ramirez relief pitcher of the night, as Jeurys Familia faces Zimmerman, who homered over the center field fence back in the 3rd, his 21st of the year. Familia just 22 years old, another in this hard-throwing stable of young Met pitchers. Familia is 6'4", 230 pounds. Adam LaRoche waits on deck. And you look at him and you wonder, what's this kid's future? He's got a great arm without question. Starter? Reliever?
Well, it would be tough for him at this point to be a reliever in the major leagues because his control issues. That's all he's got to take care of. I say all. That's a very difficult thing also. But his stuff is so good. If he can get it in the strike zone, he's got the pitches to put you away.
Out to right field, and Hairston back a few strides and reels it in. Zimmerman retired, 1 out. Now Adam LaRoche, 1 for 3, double to right back in the 2nd. Flied out, struck out after that. And the Mets again put on the full shift against LaRoche.
So 88-mile-an-hour change up there from Familia.
One to LaRoche, low and inside.
So these are those pitchers in September you face that come up and they're all these big arms that throw hard,
and they're supposed to throw it down the middle 2-0 and don't.
And they don't know where it's going, and they're all over the place. And you just go, okay, I just got to bear down because this guy's throwing hard. I'm not going to try to do anything but just try to go up the middle with him because I know nothing about him.
LaRoche pops it up. Who's going to get it? David Wright sprinting in and gets there in foul ground. 2 out. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He's standing by with this game break. Giants 5.5 games up on the Dodgers, who had the night off tonight. Here's Michael Morris's 1 for 3, an infield hit back in the 4th. and breaks his bat again. David Wright handles this one, and Jeurys Familia has himself a 1-2-3 inning. Mets come up in the bottom of the 8th, still down 5-1. Every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. 2-night games the next 2 nights here. Then the Mets go to Milwaukee for the weekend and then come home for their final homestand. 3 with the Phillies, 3 with the Marlins, and 4 with the Pirates on the final homestand of the year. Drew Storen comes in to pitch the bottom of the 8th inning for Washington.
Well, their closer last season, of course, had an elbow injury, started the season late, still working himself into form. He's got a save and 1 opportunity so far this year.
Daniel Murphy is going to bat for Ronnie Cedeno, leading off in the bottom of the 8th. Murphy, who had 3 hits and a walk in yesterday's game, has been the Mets' hottest hitter. 2 doubles in yesterday's game for Murphy, which is 1 more extra base hit than he had in his previous 26 games combined. But that's really the entire team right now.
Well, in a strange way, this Nationals team that has showed you so many strengths in this game alone, getting Drew Storen ready and healthy and 100% and ready to go like he was last season when he saved over 40 games will be one of Davey Johnson's keys.
Well, you remember when the Mets were in Washington 6 weeks ago and Tyler Clippard was struggling. There was speculation that maybe Clippard could lose his closer's job and Storen could get it back, but Clippard has righted himself since. Ball and a strike to Murphy with Wright and Hairston to follow here in the bottom of the 8th. Atlanta has moved on to Milwaukee. That game's in the 6th inning. 1-0 Atlanta. Significant there that the Braves tonight got their fine young shortstop Andrelton Simmons back, and he's in the lineup. Simmons was playing so well before he broke a finger 2 months ago, and they've been patchworking their lineup since. That's Mike Minor pitching for the Braves tonight. 1-2 now to Murphy. Ryan Matthews worked a 1-2-3 7th behind Gio Gonzalez, who's in line for his 19th win. Gio went the first 6. Walked 5, but gave up just 1 run. And Murphy socks one into right field for a pinch hit single. Well, Murphy, the hottest hitter in the lineup, comes off the bench tonight and gets a pinch hit.
Oh, nice hit by Murphy. Little slider in. Turns on it nicely.
So the Mets have just their 4th hit of the night. And now David Wright, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. The Nats have had just 5 hits, but they've hit 3 home runs tonight. Mets got their only run on a solo homer by Scott Hairston in the 4th. Hairston's now out on deck. And Storen missing low for ball 1. David Wright just 1 for 8 against Drew Storen. And he overpowers him 1-1.
Got good sink on that fastball to Storen. Here David asking umpire Sam Holbrook, is that a strike?
Storen, a 1st round pick in the same draft that brought the Nats Steven Strasburg. It's quite a 1st round.
He made it to big leagues first.
And then the next year they took Bryce Harper.
Well, that's the thing about the draft, that, you know, when it's your time and you've been a team that has been a 2nd division club and you get that 1st pick, sometimes it's not the best player in the country. Sometimes it's just an ordinary pitcher, ordinary player. Wilt Strasburg and Harper off the charts.
I mean, what are the odds?
Right.
You have the 1st pick in the draft 2 years in a row, and in both those years you get a once-in-a-generation player. You're only supposed to get a once-in-a-generation player once, not twice in 2 years.
Well, you know, the Mets in the 80s, very similar thing. You know, Dwight Gooden in 1 draft in the 1st round, 5th pick, and Darryl Strawberry the #1 pick in the country.
Line the other way, and David Wright has a base hit. So the Mets get the first 2 men on against Storen in the 8th. Career hit number 1,406 for David, now just 12 behind Kranepool. Of course, sometimes the best player in the draft isn't picked first. The Angels got Mike Trout the 5th pick.
Well, back in the 4th, a 10th home run off a left-hander by Hairston. Scott, number 16 on the year. That's the lone run for the Metsies.
Well, the Mets with a chance here with a couple of men on in the 8th. Hairston 1 for 3 on the night. Hairston has a home run against Storen in 3 career at bats. And that sinker misses for ball 1.
It's me watching Storen right now, just overthrowing.
He's not the same pitcher that before he got hurt.
And he's barking at himself right now. There's nobody up behind him in the Nationals bullpen. Hairston takes a mighty rip, 1-1.
This is right down the middle. A little bit of sink got under him.
Well, this is probably one of those things, guys, where you have a guy that was a closer the year before, where that adrenaline level is a little different, and then coming down now to the setup role.
Balls and a strike. Well, if Hairston can find his way on, then Ike Davis could get to the plate as the tying run.
Boy, all this bullpen. Davey does not have a left-hander up for Ike.
Of course, Sean Burnett's been battling an elbow problem, which maybe one of the reasons for that. And now Storen just misses and is behind 3-1, and with a slump of the shoulders, he's showing some awfully bad body language.
You know, the thing about pitchers is that they're expecting to get a pitch after they've been all over the strike zone. It's not going to help. We're not all over the strike zone, all out of the strike zone.
Some stirring around now in that Washington bullpen. There may be somebody up in a moment. Meanwhile, Storen behind on Hairston, a dangerous hitter, 3-1 with Davis on deck. 2 on and nobody out. Mets down 4 in the 8th. And that's a strike. Borderline pitch, 3-2.
That's a strike. I want Scott swinging the bat here. That's a good strike. That just boxed it by Suzuki.
Murphy at second, Wright at first with nobody out. Storen with a 3-2 to Hairston. Did he hold?
Yes, he did.
No, he went around. Strike 3. Rob Drake punches out Hairston for the first out of the inning.
Let's take another look. What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I think he did. Just to watch the top of the bat, how it goes over the hands there.
Well, that's a big out for the Nationals.
So over past the hands.
John Roush getting ready to pitch the top of the 9th. Meanwhile, Ike Davis bats with 2 on and 1 out. Ike, who's hit 7 3-run homers this year, plus a grand slam among his 26 home runs. He's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. And Storen works him inside for ball 1.
Boy, Storen is just really making it tough on himself.
Getting left-handed hitters out has been his problem ever since coming back.
Davis 0 for 4 against Storen. And he hits the ground ball to second base. Espinosa to Desmond and back to LaRoche for the 4-6-3 double play. And just like that, Storen finds his way out of trouble in the 8th inning. Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports. We'll check out how hurt the Jets and Giants are after the Jets win and the Giants loss. Long 5-set final at the U.S. Open just across the street. And we'll check out the NL wildcard race as well. Geico Sports Night after the postgame. Daniel Murphy, who pinch hit, stays in the game at second base as Jerry's Familia continues on the mound. Mets have gotten four hitless innings out of their bullpen. But the Nats with 3 home runs off Colin McHugh to build a 5-0 lead. It's 5-1 as we go to the 9th. Ian Desmond has one of those 3 home runs, a 2-run shot in the 4th. And Familia runs one inside for ball 1. Danny Espinosa, Kurt Suzuki to follow. The Phillies have won tonight. Kyle Kendrick, another gem, 7 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. Phillies beat the Marlins 3-1. It's 5 straight for Philadelphia, and 13 of their last 17. They're now just 1 game under 500. After
here they come. Is it too late?
Familia behind on Desmond 2-0. Well, they were 6 games behind the Cardinals going into the night. Cardinals playing San Diego later. You get within 5 with 3 weeks to go. Got a shot.
Yep.
Who knows better than the Cardinals?
Especially if you're playing in division, or at least got some games left.
Although with the wild card, that makes it a little dicier.
Yeah, you're right.
Full count to Desmond. Elvin Ramirez turned in 2 hitless innings of relief. Ramon Ramirez worked a 1-2-3 7th. Familia got them out 1-2-3 in the 8th. So the Mets bullpen, which was such a huge concern for most of the season, now as we've come down the stretch of the season, has really solidified. Tyler Clippard up in the bullpen. I've got a question for you, Ronnie, which I'll ask you in a moment after we check in with the studio as Desmond strikes out. We'll find out what's coming up on WB Mason postgame live with Chris and Bobby, guys. All right, guys. Here's Danny Espinosa, who's 0 for 2 in a walk. Ronnie, I was going to ask, we talked for 4.5 months about how the Mets were going to have to make major changes in their bullpen for next year because, let's face it, they had the worst bullpen in baseball for most of the season. Now for a month, all of a sudden, things have completely turned around. So how much do you believe in what you see now? And will that preclude the Mets from going out and making changes, or are they going to rely on what they've seen in August and September?
Well, I think that part of the problem with the bullpen was when Francisco went down. You were trying to find different people. Bobby Parnell got the chance first and was up and down with the closing role. They've been outstanding this month, even starting back into August. You always hear people all the time say it's hard to judge in September. All I know is that the real bright spot for me is that Carson improved so much from the first time he was up with his ability to throw strikes. Josh Edgin, to me, seems like the real deal. Is he going to have some ups and downs? Of course, he's a young pitcher, but he's got power stuff, and he's also got the insides. It looks like that it takes the pitch in pressure specialty situations.
Fly ball right field off the bat of Espinosa, and Hairston is there to grab it. 2 out.
But I think the big decision is going to be made. If you don't think of Familia and Mejia as people out of the bullpen, then yeah, you got to go out and get some power type arms.
Well, if you can count to 7, here's how you start. Francisco's signed for next year. You know he's going to be back. John Roush has been magnificent for 2.5 months, so he's going to be back. You got the 2 lefties you just mentioned in Carson and Edgin, who both look like keepers, and then tack on Bobby Parnell. That's 5 right there.
You got 2 spots available.
2 spots, and if you decide that the youngsters are going to pitch in the bullpen, as many teams used to do in the day, you'd pitch in the bullpen, and then as time would go on, like Medlin did this year for Atlanta, pitched in the bullpen, and then when they decided that it was time for them to be a starter, sent them down to the minor leagues to stretch them out a little bit, came back, and of course is having a magical year as a starting pitcher.
And the other side of that equation is you don't see Mejia going back to AAA next year. I'm not sure whether they feel the same about Familia, although he's certainly acquitting himself well today. But if you look at the starting staff, if Dylan G and Johan Santana come back healthy next year, and Zach Wheeler might compete for a spot, there's no room for those guys in the starting rotation.
And you want, I don't know, it's a hard decision developing young pitchers and making sure they're ready. Sometimes you have to force or get them here a little quicker than you want to. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Ike coming over for a look, but that's out of play. And the other side of that also is, if you can figure out a way to solve your bullpen problems from within, like we're just talking about, it leaves you so many more resources to work on what is right now a much bigger problem, which is figuring out outfield and catcher for this team next year.
Absolutely, and I think that the other part of it, Keith, is that this team, the pitching, if not the absolute strength, is one of the strengths of the team. Position players are what you need, and I think you're right, Gary. Getting pitchers from within allows you an opportunity to maybe go out and get some everyday players that can help your lineup.
Familiar with his second strikeout as he gets Suzuki. 2 perfect innings for him and 5 hitless innings for the Mets bullpen. Now the Mets need some runs. Number 19, Jordan Zimmerman pitches for Washington. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow night right here on SNY. Corey Brown comes in to play left field as we go to the bottom of the 9th. He'll bat 9th, and the new pitcher Tyler Clippard will hit in the 5-hole.
Boy, it seems every time we face the Nationals you see a bit of Tyler Clippard. 30 saves so far this year, 34 chances. See those strikeout numbers, 75.
Jordani Valdespin will bat for Kelly Shopping as we go to the bottom of the 9th. Here's the history that's at stake here in the bottom of the 9th. If the Mets do not score 2 runs here in the bottom of the 9th, they will have 106 consecutive innings at home without scoring more than a run in an inning, which will be the 2nd longest streak in Major League history. If they don't score 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th, they'll have 11 straight home games with 3 runs or fewer, which will tie a club record, which was last dubiously achieved in 1979. Richie Hebner's year as a Met.
Not your favorite year or player?
I've said as much as I'm going to say.
Richie Hebner would storm around walk around the batting cage during BP, we come in and play the Mets, he would just be, get me out of here. I can't stand it. Oh, gosh.
Well, let me just say, it was reflected in his play. Valdes Bean hitting at .244. 8 home runs, 5 of them as a pinch hitter, 1 of them against Clippard. And he drags a bunt. LaRoche comes in to field and tag, and that's the first out in the bottom of the 9th.
I don't fault that. Nice try by that young man. Been working on that before batting practice almost every day, working on trying to get himself some base hits.
Now Jason Bay, who's 0 for 3, struck out, lined out, and hit a dribbler on which Suzuki threw him out. Zimmerman with a 2-hopper. 2 out. So Clippard throws 3 pitches, gets 2 out. Zimmerman looks very awkward throwing, but he gets it there.
He does. Plays the long hop. Throws the hand grenade over.
They've been working so hard on his throwing, but it still is not a thing of beauty, at least not when he comes over the top. He looks great throwing from the side.
Well, you know, he hurt his shoulder and then had to kind of reinvent how he threw, because I saw him when he first came up and he had a cannon from over there.
Fred Lewis looking for his first hit as a Met. Bats with 2 out and nobody on. He's batting for Andres Torres. Lucas Duda's come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Lewis can keep the game alive. And Lewis takes a fastball for a strike from Clippard. In Chicago, Alex Rios and A.J. Brzezinski homered in the bottom of the 6th. The White Sox lead the Tigers 4-1. Chicago trying to stretch their lead in the AL Central. They're 2 games up on Detroit. And Lewis takes the changeup for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Brzezinski having another strong year for Chicago.
26 home runs. Duda would be next, but now the Mets are down to their final strike. And Clippard takes care of Lewis, and the ball game is over. Gio Gonzalez becomes the first 19-game winner in the major leagues. R.A. Dickey will get a chance to match him tomorrow. The Mets have gone 11 straight home games now, scoring 3 runs or less, matching a dubious club record.
Well, Terry Collins says that been trying different things. The rag has been wrung dry. And certainly Dave Hudgens, the hitting coach, and everyone left wondering when are they going to score some runs. Gio Gonzalez, 19th win. Tough stretch here for the Mets.
Well, yeah, the one error they made, Chopik dropped the pop-up, if you recall, back in the 3rd inning, and lo and behold, 2 home runs later, all unearned runs. 3 runs in that inning, all unearned, and a 2-run shot by Desmond. So both teams with 5 hits. Unfortunately for the Mets, only 1 run, and the 3 home runs were all that had mattered for the Nationals as they powered over the Mets.
Game summary brought to you by Astoria Federal Savings. Gio Gonzalez 19-7 with a 2.93 ERA. Not his best effort. He walked 5, but the Mets streak of futility on offense here at Citi Field continues as they fall to 11 games under 500. That's when at 5-1. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.